When it comes to the 85 class, young riders have 5 different options. And in this video, Motocross Action is putting them to the test. Kawasaki and Yamaha, both of their 85s were updated just a few years ago in 2022, and new for 2025, KTM, Husqvarna, and Gas are all new, which means it's the perfect time for an 85 shootout. Nixon, what are you wearing, dude? That looks terrible.
Dude, I forgot my jersey at home.
All right, well, thankfully, motorsport.com, they can get us dialed. Motorsport.com can get you dialed in with all the parts, gear, and accessories to get you ready for your next ride. And you can save $20 on your next purchase of $100 or more by clicking the link in the description below. Also, we gotta say thanks to 100% Goggles for giving our riders clear vision on the track. And thanks to FXR for making our kids look cool. It's been a long few days for our young test riders testing these 85s to the max. We gotta say thank you to First Form for getting our young riders dialed in with all the hydration, recovery fuel, and energy that they need to tackle the track. As always, DecalWorks is our go-to graphic supplier, making sure our 85s look sweet. Now it's time to get into the details. It has been over 10 years since Motocross Action has last done an 85 shootout, and that was in 2014. And thankfully, Kawasaki, KTM, and Yamaha have all made updates in recent years. Specifically, Kawasaki and Yamaha in 2022 made the last updates to their 85 models. Then KTM, Husqvarna, Gas were all new for 2025. Yamaha started off the new trend of taking their big bike geometry and implementing it onto their little bikes. The YZ85 matched the YZ125 and YZ252 strokes. They got new shrouds, they got new flatter seats, and also lower handlebars. So it kind of flattened out the geometry of the rider triangle on the YZ85, made it mimic what they have on the YZ125 and the YZ252 strokes. Also mimicked the air inflow coming from underneath the back of the tank and made the bikes look like big bikes as well. Fast forward 3 years, 2025, KTM does the exact same thing. They shrink their 250 and 125 big bikes down into an 85. The geometry, the frame, the plastics, subframe all look identical from big bikes to the mini bikes now. Now quickly, we should talk about the price of each bike. KTM retails for $6,749, Husqvarna $200 more, $6,900, and Gas $6,449. Now those three were much more expensive. The Kawasaki KX85, $4,949, and the YZ85 was $4,999, all very similarly priced for KTM, Husqvarna, and Gas, where KX and Yamaha were much lower. Also, you should know, Kawasaki makes a KX85 small wheel and a KX112 big wheel for the Supermini class, while Yamaha and KTM, they make small wheels and they make big wheel 85s, but they don't make Superminis for the young riders. It was a lot of fun to have 5 brand new bikes, 5 young motivated test riders, fresh gear from FXR, and just a fresh track yesterday and today here at Glenhelm Raceway. And it did get pretty gnarly and rough for these young riders, but I'll have to admit, it was tough for me to take a step back and not be able to ride the bikes myself. For me, dissecting the information from each of the 5 test riders, and thankfully we had a couple Czech riders with Brian Medeiros and also Bodie Bushnell just recently jumped onto a 125. So he jumped back on the 85, and Brian, he's a pro level test rider, 30 years old, but he still fits an 85 a little bit.
I'm 30-year-old 85 test rider, baby. Let's go.
And he helped me dissect the results. I'm blown away with how close all 3 bikes were, Kawasaki, KTM, and Yamaha. It's definitely a little bit surprising, but let's get into the rankings. Kawasaki KX85, it does end at 3rd place in our shootout. KX85 was definitely down on power, asking Brian and also our young test riders. It was a clear standout that it was not as fast as the other machines. Also, a lot softer suspension, not as much holdup on the KX85, but the guys did appreciate how predictable it was in the corners. But that's it for me. Let's hear what our young test riders thought of the KX85.
My favorite was the Kawasaki, but why was my favorite? Because I fit comfortable, I fit good on it. So I noticed when I was getting deep in the throttle,
it would like start to lift the front end up, and it got really good power at top end.
You could tell the bike was like a little bit lower on the front end and a little bit higher on the back, so you're like this. But it was a good bike, and there was a pretty good distance against the seat and the foot pegs, but it made you stand up more, and it was a good bike.
Something about the engine on the Kawasaki, when you're going up the hill, if you're in like third gear or second, it bogs a little bit, but then once you get to the top end, it's perfect. And then we had to change the bars a little bit, like roll them forward because they're too rolled back. And then after that, I rode it again, and it was way more better.
I found it really good, especially when you got on it, like mid-range, is it really good.
Yeah, you could stand up deep into the corners with it.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed is before we changed the suspension, I had to do a few suspension changes on the high-speed compression, is when I was going down the hill, I was getting kicked, and then sometimes when I was coming out of the corners, I would get like kicked a little, like bouncing, but we fixed that issue. It actually, I'm surprised on how it handles. I didn't think it was gonna handle like this. It handles pretty good. Handles really good in the corners and in the bumps. It's pretty high, like it's like high off the ground, but the distance from the seats, the foot pegs, is lower. But overall, I think I'd rate it like a 4.5. It's a good bike.
Getting into first and second place, I do have to mention that we're lumping together KTM, Husqvarna, and GasGas because they're all identical bikes. First and second place were so close. We're really surprised. We're not expecting that coming into it, but somebody has to win, and Yamaha was the one that finishes second. However, all of our test riders were more excited about it than I expected they would be, and especially Brian Medeiros. If it was up to our 130-pound, 5'6" test rider who's a pro at 30 years old, he liked the Yamaha better because of the way it handled. He likes the spring forks on it. He thought it was very predictable in the corners, but he did mention that KTM was stronger on the engine. Now, let's hear from our young test riders to see what they thought about the YZ85.
So I've known the Yamahas, I've known they're like a little smaller than the KTMs, and when I got on it, I felt like I fit it a little bit like smaller. I like when it's bigger because I just feel more comfortable on it, but the Yamaha was smaller than the KTM or just the other bikes that I normally ride. But it felt good overall, losing a little traction in the front, but it was good.
No, it was way different than I expected. I had way more control, like in the air. In the corners, it was pretty good. Like David said, I was losing some traction in the front end, but other than that, it was pretty good. I had to change the suspension a couple times. It got really good. It was good. I made it softer. I think it was too stiff for me. Like the harder the track got, like the more rough it got.
Was it better after that?
Yeah, way better. I ride a Yamaha because I like them a lot, and I think they're really fast.
The thing I didn't like about Yamaha was that I think it was super heavy, and I had to change the sag a couple times because sometimes it was too stiff and then it was too soft, and then I put it like a little more softer, and then that was perfect. But then also what David said, I lost some traction in the corners, but yeah, other than that, the bike was perfect. Lack of power going up the uphills, but besides that, felt good on the acceleration, and it was really good in the low gears. I think it was really good.
I think it was really good.
It was decent. It was
You
like,
can lean in
if
a
I were
lot.
to pick it from like 1 to 5, it'd probably be like a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'd be like
Not the greatest, but pretty good.
Like a 4.
yeah, I'd do a 4 too.
Even though we're lumping together KTM, Husqvarna, and GasGas, we do have to mention there are some very, very minor differences, mostly to do with the bodywork. They mimic the big bike bodywork, so they all have different shrouds, different rear fenders, and they actually have different tanks to match their bodywork for mounting points. But frame, engine, everything else is the same, except the Husqvarna. The airbox on the Husqvarna is completely closed off, a lot less air going into the airbox, where KTM and GasGas have more air going under the seat into that airbox, and it did make it a little different for our test rider Brian Medeiros. He felt the KTM was a little bit leaner, hold a little bit longer because of that extra air. But now let's hear from our young test riders about what they thought about the KTM, Husqvarna, and GasGas.
Raise of hands, who liked the Austrian bikes the best?
I like the Husky a lot because it's got a lot of bottom and top end, and it was really fast. And the design of it is really good, and you can lean it really far into the corners, and it's just a lot of power, and the suspension's really good. There's a pretty big distance with the Yamaha in the corners and the Husqvarna. The Husqvarna, you could like lean into the corners a lot because the bars don't turn as much, I think, so you could like lean without high siding anything, so you could lean in the corner really far. And then on the Yamaha, it was good. you just couldn't lean as much.
I like the KTM, my favorite out of all the bikes. Like, it was my favorite overall. I liked how it was really smooth on the throttle. Brakes were good. I was getting really good traction, like in the corners and just going down the straights and everything. Suspension was like perfect. Like, it was like really good, especially for best stock suspension. The gearing was perfect for this track. I really liked how the motor was, just like the new design and everything. The subframe felt really good. Seat positioning, like just the whole design just felt really good. Way better than the 2485.
Well, what'd you guys think of how the KTM cornered? Anyone can.
They cornered really good.
They cornered really good. You can lean it really far.
Cornered really good. Lost no traction on the corners. All traction.
Tires were really good too.
Yeah.
Sat really good in the braking. Hit the braking bumps really good. Has especially high speed. Felt really comfortable on the bike. The cornering was super good. Like, you could just get on it and just hang it.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Absorbed every braking bump.
So much fun today. It was like really fun. I really enjoyed it. This opportunity was really cool, and I enjoyed getting to test all the bikes. It was a really good experience.
I like it because it was a cool opportunity to go ride on all the other bikes and feel what they all feel like and figure out which one was my favorite. It was a super fun day, and I can't wait till next time.
At the end of the day, we had 4 of our young test riders pick the KTM as the winner, while one of them picked the Kawasaki as the winner. And of course, Brian Medeiros, he liked the YZ85. Although this is just our shootout video, we still will have more information packed into our article where we get all the details from each young rider packed into there. Coming into this, I expected KTM to be the clear winner. We see a lot more KTMs racing at the Amateur Nationals and doing well there, but we all learned that the YZ85 is a very impressive machine, and it is definitely closer to KTM than we all expected. I have heard some rumors that Kawasaki is going to be updating their 85 in the years to come, so looking forward to that. Motocross Action, we're having fun testing mini bikes, and stay tuned for some more in our magazine.
Thank you guys for watching.
For more info, stay tuned to our magazine article.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
Stay tuned for future Motocross Action videos.
I'll see you guys in the next one.